Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for joining me. Happy Friday to the viewing audience. Please have a safe weekend and happy holidays. Weekend movie, Gaslight, now playing on Tubi. Very interesting movie. Please check it out. For those of you who like thrillers, Gaslight is my movie suggestion for the weekend. We'll post it to the community board. This is a 3-part live subject matter pertaining to the Malice murder committed by Leilani Simon of a Quentin Simon. Billie Joe gets 10 days in jail for contempt of court, and an Azalea Mobile Plaza tenant has come forward to speak. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. WTOC is source number one.
WTOC's investigates reporter Maxine Knight was at the courthouse when the district attorney announced the grand jury indicted Leilani Simon on 19 counts, including murder.
And Max, you have been digging more into that 8-page indictment today. What'd you find out?
Yeah, Mike and Don, that's right. We were looking through this indictment. It accuses Leilani of knowingly killing her son, and before that, causing him great pain, and then trying to cover it all up. Let's start with count 1. It charges Leilani with using malice aforethought, causing the death of her son, Quentin Simon. That means she took the time to think about killing him before she did it. Then there's count 3, felony murder. It accuses Leilani of maliciously causing her son cruel and excessive physical pain, causing his death. Count 5 accuses Leilani of trying to cover it all up, starting with a 911 call.
Complain about her 1-year-old son is missing. She woke up, her door was open, but he's unable to open a door. I think someone came in and took him.
The indictment goes on to say Simon willfully and knowingly gave a false report implying that Quentin Simon had been abducted by an unknown intruder. It's something she repeated to us in a WTOC exclusive interview weeks after her son's disappearance.
We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they were hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior.
Count 17 of this 19-count indictment may best summarize the accusations against Leilani. It says she did knowingly and willfully conceal that she had discarded her son, Quentin, in a dumpster.
I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
But she didn't. If you'd like to read this indictment for yourself, we posted it on our website, WTOC.com. Just look for the Quentin Simon section that's under the news tab. Mike and Don.
Thanks, Max. Also on that page, we do have the entire press conference with Chatham County District Attorney Shalana Cook-Jones announcing the charges. You can also read up on past stories, see a full timeline of events that have happened so far in this case. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
WTOC is the source. Thank you for joining me. The allegations in the indictment is that this is a malice aforethought by Leilani Simon of a Quentin Simon, 20-month-old child. They have proof that this woman deliberately, intentionally killed her child and covered it up and lied. Those are the said charges in the indictment. WTOC tells you you feel free to get the information off their website and the full press conference of the district attorney's statements pertaining to the allegations in the indictment. It is obvious that they have something against her because a panel, I don't know if it's 6 members or more, of a grand jury said, yay, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. I always had faith in the judicial system that they would come forward with an indictment against Leilani Simon. And that is the whole point of the story, is that you don't know what they have. It's not your job to know what they have because they have to preserve the investigation. But they have what they have, and they went before a grand jury, and they said, yay, that's good enough for me. And the fact that the child was found in a landfill, that should let you know he didn't crawl in a dumpster in the landfill on his own because somebody put him there, which is the bio donor, Leilani Simon. She threw her child away, discarded her child in a dumpster. They have found her testimony to be lies in a report and conversations. Those are the said allegations and charges in the indictment. They have the dates of when they spoke to her and her commentary. So I don't need to go look up anything. Let me tell somebody that. I believe what they have to say about what she said to them. They have the dates and the documentation. What is there to lie about? Nothing. She lied about her kid. It's common sense she lied. You can't say your child went missing, then later he's found in a damn landfill. And when you watch the clip of she and her mother standing there talking, Billie Joe looking to the side and making some mean, ugly face, Billie Joe House, she was letting you know then she knew her daughter was a liar about what happened to Quentin Simon. And possibly she's known all along that the child was dead. Now, did she know the full circumstances of the child's death? I do not know, but I have a sneaky suspicion that Billie Joe knew before coming back or when she returned to Georgia that the child was dead. She had knowledge before the 12th, let's say that, before the child was deemed deceased and the mother was the primary suspect 7 days from the 5th, which is the 12th, in case you need verification. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign began 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during this live stream. Let's get on to the next commentary. Residents speak after indictment releases information about where Quentin Simon's, I guess it says body. We'll open that up here. Let's see what they have to say about this. Hold on one second.
Where investigators say Leilani Simon put her son's body in a dumpster.
We're in the neighborhood before Chatham County Police announced they found Quentin's body, and people living there weren't ready to talk then, but some opening up today. Our Shay Schrader joins us live from the Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. And Shay, what did people near there tell you today?
Well, first off, we know that investigators think that Leilani went from her home on Buckhalter Road in the early hours of October 5th and came here to the Azalea Mobile Home Park, which is just 2 miles away from her home, to put her son's body in a dumpster. People that live around here had their suspicions for quite some time, saying that after Quentin was first reported missing, police showed up in large numbers, searching dumpsters, pulling security camera footage, and just generally looking for any evidence they could find.
I live in the trailer, the next trailer on the next road over, same side as this. And I came home that morning from delivering newspapers, and I saw some vehicles parked here.
Cars he says he wasn't used to seeing, parked outside of his tenant's trailer. He says he went over to see what was going on.
GBI and FBI agents here. There was 2 vehicles parked here, and they were waiting for the manager to come down. She called me and asked me if I could take the camera off up here. If you look above the window, you'll see the mount is still up there from where the camera was at, and it was pointed toward the trash cans.
Bowman says the police were asking everyone in the area if they had cameras on their homes and were going through the dumpsters repeatedly. He says they stayed for around a week and talked to him as well as other people multiple times.
It was mainly just questions if I had seen anybody around the dumpsters, if I'd seen any strange cars, any strange people walking around. That was 90 to 95% of the questions that they asked.
The police presence, Bowman says, was very unusual. Though the police wouldn't say what they were there for, people living here had their suspicions. And now that Leilani has been indicted, Bowman says he's relieved to know that the search efforts were successful.
I hope they find out really and truly what happened, because if she did do that, she doesn't deserve to be out with anybody else. She deserves to be behind bars. That's just, I'm sorry, you just don't do that to a child. You don't do that to anybody for that matter, but a child is worst of all.
Speaking of that security camera footage, the landlord told me that it was turned over to police, but he never actually got to watch it himself. So we still haven't heard any firsthand accounts of what that video actually showed. Reporting in Chatham County, Shay Schrader, WTOC News.
WTOC. So we have a neighbor here speaking Caucasian male, telling you of seeing unknown vehicles, which 9 times out of 10 were agents there trying to get information pertaining to this case. And many rumors had came out about FBI agents and law officials being at this Azalea mobile park. That is how this mobile park's name got put on the gossip list, because naturally the people in the community talked and assumed possibly they were there looking for the child once the news got out that the child was missing. That is how rumors start. You also hear in this commentary that the manager does not know what was seen on the video footage. The camera is not up there at the present moment. And there was a rumor that allegedly somebody said that the manager didn't see anything suspicious on that. But I think we can use deduction that possibly that is not true, because something led them to this mobile park. It could be data from the suspect's cell phone or GPS in a car, Leilani Simon. What will that video footage show? Will it show her pulling up in that vicinity, lurking around, sitting around, and or dumping a child at a dumpster, either the green dumpsters on the property or the one sitting at the front of the property to the right in a fence, which I do believe belongs to the corner store. Thank you all so much for joining me. They have evidence, and that's good enough for me. And I've said that from the beginning of this story. And obviously the indictment shows that they have evidence. Did she tell somebody what she did to the child? Did she confess to somebody what she did to the child? Did she tell her mother the whole truth? Did she tell the boyfriend? Does he have knowledge thereof? I do believe Danny Youngkin is also a co-conspirator. I do believe he has knowledge of what has happened to this child, because despite the fact that they found partial remains, you don't know which remains were found in the landfill. You don't know how she disposed of the child. You don't know the condition of the child when he was disposed of in the dumpster. See, those are all the questions you have to ask. How was he disposed? What was he disposed in? Crate, bag, trash bag, travel bag, tote? How did they come to the decision to know he was beat by an object? Because they said partial remains. So you don't know which remains were found. Was it just a skull? What? But in the end, it doesn't matter. They have what they need to have. And you don't know what she's done or what she said. You do not know what was found at the house, because my understanding from one of the articles I brought you, what was found at the house also led them to the dumpster, which is at Azalea Mobile Plaza. Thank you all so much for joining me. You don't know how he was discarded, what was discarded also with the child. I'm assuming all that information will be revealed during a court trial. Very heinous information. And how do the people feel now knowing she's dumped the child in their vicinity or on their said property or adjacent to their property? That has to be a very sick feeling to know while you were slumbering in your sleep or watching TV, someone was discarding a child. And that's what happens in this world. While you are slumbering, eating, sleeping, someone is killing someone. Someone is plotting the death of someone, because you do not know people. As I've always said, 50 ways to kill a person, 100 ways to get caught. Because the killer will always mess up, leave something behind. And we're in a digital age. You can't go anywhere and do anything without being seen on CCTV. Somebody has a doorbell camera. Somebody has a house camera. Somebody has a camera in a window. So while you think you are sneakily out doing mischief in the night, in the day, somebody has a bullseye view of what you are doing. That is how many civilians are caught. It's by surveillance cameras, eyewitness testimony. Did somebody see her car there? Did somebody see her dump something in the dumpster? Did the camera show her pulling up and using a dumpster? Did somebody drive by on that road and see her dumping something in the dumpster? Is this also collaboration of GPS of a vehicle and or her phone? Did she take her phone with her? Did she have another co-conspirator in the car with her who had their phone and notifications turned on to Google Maps? Stay woke. Thank you for joining me. Next commentary is pertaining to Billie Joe Howe. It is said that she is to receive 10 days in jail for contempt of court. Let's see what we have here. We'll be bringing you various sources pertaining to this information. I do believe she needs to be in jail longer because she is the one who had custodial rights of the children. We're going to take you back in time to allegedly spring when she allegedly was supposed to have, I guess, custody then. I'm not sure because I don't have verification of a receipt to when this heifer had custody, she and Mr. Howe. It has also been alleged that he was on the custodial papers that I brought you information a while ago. Either way, they're both complicit also to the death of Quentin Simon and the neglect of the said brother and sister. Thank you for joining me. WJCL is the source. Grandmother of Quentin Simon sentenced to 10 days in jail for violating court order. WJCL 22 News is told that Betterton has had no contact with her daughter, Leilani Simon, and is being held in a separate unit. This was uploaded December 15th, updated 1:35 p.m. We're now learning new information about the jailing of Billie Joe Betterton, also known as Billie Joe Howe, the grandmother of formerly missing toddler Quentin Simon. Betterton was jailed Monday, December 12th for violating a court order. Her mugshot shows her wearing a suicide prevention smock. According to the Chatham County Sheriff's Office, Juvenile Court Judge Lindretta Grindel-Crimer found her in contempt of court and sentenced her to 10 days in jail. Betterton is due to be released on December 22nd. WJCL 22 News is told that Betterton has had no contact with her daughter, Leilani Simon, and is being held in a separate unit. It's unclear what it's unclear what order Betterton was accused of violating. On Wednesday, Simon was indicted on 19 counts, including murder and the death of her son, Quentin. Quentin was reported missing October 5th. On that morning, Billie Joe Betterton's Bogalter rode home. Leilani Simon lived there with Quentin, her other children, and her boyfriend. Some of Quentin's remains were found. Let me repeat. Some of Quentin's remains were found weeks later in a Chatham County landfill. According to the district attorney, Shalina Cook Jones, Leilani Simon intentionally caused Quentin's death, and the indictments allege Leilani dumped his body into a dumpster at a mobile park off of Ogeechee Road, roughly 3 miles from the family's Bogalter Road home. Leilani Simon was denied bond during a hearing on December 6th. She is due back in court February 13, 2023. So it does not specify the contempt order for Billie Joe Howe. She's to be released December 22nd, 2022, which will be next week. And Leilani Simon is also in the same jail, and they are in separate units in the jail. And this article also alleges that Billie Joe Howe has not had any contact with her daughter. Thank you all so much for joining me. She needs more than 10 days in jail. Let me make that clear during this live stream. I do not know if this is a contempt for custody issues, a gag order, because I do believe a gag order was issued because she was on social media running her mouth up here on YouTube. But nonetheless, she needs to stay in jail because she aided the death of a child. They take you back to spring that she had custody of the said children. So one would have to question exactly what is the truth pertaining to custody rights of the kids. When did she actually gain custody? Number one, what were the circumstances for her to gain custody? CPS intervention and or the daughter decided to hand over her rights, or Billie Joe asked for the rights of the children. I'm not here to argue back and forth about when she got the kids because it's self-explanatory. It's still fraud. She was never there in the state of Georgia to raise the children. So it does not matter if she filed for custody in September. She had actual custody of the children before September of 2022. The point is she was not there to raise the children. So that is fraud. You left your children, allegedly grandchildren, in the custody of an unfit mother. And the reason why I believe she didn't have custody of baby Sky is because Daddy Youngkin was in the said house with the baby mother, Leilani, and naturally he wouldn't have gone for giving up his rights to the child. But you see, he left that same child when the shit hit the fan pertaining to questioning Leilani Simon about the disappearance of her son. Billie Joe fraudulently got custody of these kids because she never kept the kids. She was not working, living in the state of Georgia. So it doesn't matter when she took the job. She was not there. That is fraud. Using someone to babysit the children and use them as the go-to person, still fraud. And Dinah McCarter fully dealt with these people. The signs were there all along, but she continued to deal with them anyway. That was her choice. But I would not have dealt with them. Because you have to accept people for what they are, who they are. And when you see that they are deceiving you and lying, you have to pull out cameras and phones to record them. That means you need to bow out. Because nobody should have to record a person's conversation. And look where all that got Dinah McCarter in the end. Wrapped up in a murder investigation, accusations of this and that, crazy meddling people on social media. This is what true crime has become. Meddling internet junkies who don't know shit from Shinola. Because these are real people, and this is a case about a real child who is no longer alive. Can't go back, can't take it back. Billie Joe and the husband, Mr. Whomever, they're liable. Because allegedly his name is also on the documents for custodial rights of the children of the two boys, Quentin and Zane. They're guilty. Gross negligence, murder, call it what you want. Let's go back in time to what I believe started this filing of documents in the court system by Billie Joe Howell against Leilani Simon and Danny Youngkin for child support, eviction, and custodial rights, whatever. 535 Mocalta Road, unincorporated, Georgia, 3140597, 2022. Incident time 1550. 9/7/2022, 1607. Billie Joe Howell, white, sex, female, height 5'10", weight 180, hair blonde, eyes hazel, age 45. Incident code 1313. Did acts of children were involved? No. Was an act committed with children present? Yes. Was victim advised of available remedies and services? Yes. Is this a prior court order? No. Well, it says unknown. Were children involved? Doesn't answer. People arrested? 0. Trying to bring all this stuff up here. Insufficient probable cause. It was checked. Other reason. Testimonial evidence was checked. Parent box checked. Asking about the relationship or primary aggressor to victims. It says 3 parent box checked. Let's read the said information. On Wednesday, 9/7/22 at approximately 16:07 hours, I responded to a call for a domestic dispute at 535 Buckhalter Road. Upon my arrival, I made contact with the complainant identified as Leilani Simon. Leilani said her and her mother had an altercation regarding some clothes that were in the wash. Leilani said she removed her clothes so that her mother could use the washer. Leilani said they had a disagreement verbally about how things were, and she said her mother got in her face and shoved her. Leilani said she hit a wall and felt that her elbow was red from the wall. Leilani said her two kids were around and said she called to put a stop to the issues between her and her mom, as she said she did not want her kids around that. Leilani's elbow was red, however, there was no signs of bruising. I made contact with the mother, identified as Billie Howe. Ms. Howe said she was having issues with her daughter, as she said she wanted to use her washer and it was in use. Ms. Howe said she was frustrated as she takes care of household and pays all the bills. Ms. Howe said her daughter lives there, two kids, and the daughter's boyfriend. Ms. Howe said she got in an argument with her daughter, Leilani, and said after her daughter screamed at the top of her lungs in her face, she shoved her. Leilani said she was on probation and did not want the conflict to escalate, and said that was why she called. Leilani said she did not want her mother to face charges. Leilani was advised she could go to courthouse and attempt to get warrants taken out if she wished. Leilani said she understood. Ms. Howe's son came to pick her up to remove her from the situation. Ms. Howe agreed to separate from the situation for some time to avoid conflict. Ms. Howe said she may have to evict them. Ms. Howe's son advised that his mother was tired, as he said the daughter has a history of stealing from the mother and buying drugs with that money, and says the problem goes back very far. Ms. Howe left the scene with her son for at least a few days. End of report. BWC activated. Reporting Officer Matthew J. Uhas. Approving Officer Brett Eskridge. So on and so forth. So obviously these people have had issues with one another. I do find it ignorant that a person would come home and expect the person to pull their clothes out of a washing machine. So were they just sitting in there wet or dry? What was the problem, Billie Joe Howe? Was the house in disarray, clothes piled up? What was the problem? Because if they were dry, all you had to do was just take them out. Put your clothes in. If they were wet, take them out, put them in the damn dryer. What's the problem? We also get information that this mess and drama also goes back to the spring when allegedly this woman had custody. This is where I'm confused, because I just assumed that she just got custody of the kids. So all of this is still fraudulent to me, because even if she had custody of the children farther back in the spring or whenever, the fact is she was never there to raise the children. So this is fraud. So it really doesn't matter. Because if you had custody of the kids in the spring or summer, you were committing fraud because you were never there to raise the children. Going to bring you said information to take us back in time pertaining to this child support issue with Billie Joe Howe and Leilani Simon. Thank you for joining me. Well, here we go. Yahoo is the source. It says update. A previous version of the story erroneously reported that Billie Joe Better, also known as Billie Joe Howe, was charged with contempt in connection with Quentin Simon's disappearance. That is incorrect and has been updated in this article. I don't know what all that's about. It is what it is. I'm going to just try to go through what's the latest pertaining to this crazy bat. I'm not going back in time or what happened before. As most of you know, Leilani Simon has been charged with malice murder. November 21st, 2022. She's been charged with malice murder, concealing the death of another, making a false report, and making false statements in connection with the disappearance of her son, 20-month-old Quentin Simon. A Chatham County grand jury, December 14th, issued a true bill of indictment against Leilani Simon for the murder of her son. Miss Shalina Cook Jones stood outside of her office, Chatham County Courthouse, detailing the 19 felony charges. 1 count of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 1 count of concealing the death of another, 1 count of falsely reporting a crime, and 14 counts of making false statements during the course of a police investigation. On October 12th, the Chatham County Police Department named Leilani as the prime suspect in Quentin's disappearance. Leilani was denied bond by a Chatham County judge on November 23rd. She had waived her right to a bond hearing, naturally, because she knew nobody was going to bond her out. And with no bond, it's a moot point. And now we have this Billie Joe Betterton, 45, grandmother Quentin, arrested, booked into the Chatham County also. December 12th, better known as Billie Joe Howe, charged with contempt of court. These charges are not in connection to the indictment of her daughter for the murder of her grandson. Before Quentin disappeared, there had been conflict between Betterton and her daughter, according to court documents. Police reports, as I just read you that report from 9/7/2022. At the time of Quentin's disappearance, Betterton had obtained custody of him and an older sibling. Repeat. At the time of Quentin's disappearance, which we know that was October 5th up until the day he was discovered, it says here, Betterton had obtained custody of him and an older sibling. So what is the truth to the custody? Did she already have custody or she didn't? Because here it states, at the time of Quentin's disappearance, Betterton had obtained custody of him, an older sibling, which I brought you information to my best of my ability and recollection that those papers were finalized on the 5th. Some want to dispute that it was an eviction. But this article tells you here she didn't get custody until the child's disappearance. I say argue with the courthouse. Let's figure out what's been going on between the two. In early September, Billie Joe filed a dispossessory note with the Chatham County Magistrate Court to evict Leilani and her boyfriend Daniel Youngkin from the home on Buckhalter Road. In April, the Georgia Department of Human Services Division of Child Support Services sued to require Leilani Simon to remit monthly child support payments for her 2 sons. She failed to appear in Superior Court on September 21st, and Judge Lisa Colbert signed the default order for paternity and child support, stipulating that Leilani Simon pay $150 a month, an amount adjusted for low-income persons. Aside from his mother, Leilani Marie Simon, Quentin's obituary listed as survivors. Let's go into that commentary. Father, Henry Moss Jr., brother and sister, grandparents, Billie and Tommy Howe, great-grandparents, Vernon and Ruth Sykes, Michael Evelyn Simon, uncles, Michael Simon, Matthew Simon, Logan Simon, Paul Simon, Joe Swain, and Quentin Betterton. So go back up from this obituary issue, just bringing you all the information that's in this article. Back in April, the Department of Human Services wanted money from Leilani Simon, obviously, to pay child support for her 2 sons. So she failed to pay And she also failed to appear in Superior Court on the 21st. And a Judge Colbert issued this default order for paternity and child support at $150. So that means the $150 was supposed to go to somebody. That would either be the state or Billie Joe Howell if we'd have believed she had custody. But I just brought you information where it says she just acquired custody when Quentin Simon went missing. So what is the truth to this custody issue? Because I'm confused. It's very strange information. I'd like for somebody to clear this up. Naturally, after Quentin's disappearance, protesters started showing up in front of the family's home, prompting police to implement measures to limit disruption on the street. Several protesters were arrested. Some blocked the driveway, while others tried to stop residents from leaving. Another was arrested for banging on windows and doors of the Simon home. Police said at the time the protests were taking precious resources away from the department while it was trying to focus on the most massive investigation in the history of CCPD. Many of the people claiming to want justice for Quentin have turned his tragic and heartbreaking case into a money-making circus. And they have made it impossible for the people who live in the area to enjoy the peace and tranquility of their homes. This is unacceptable and has to stop, police said in a release, just backtracking everything that happened during this case. Quentin Simon's case and the legal proceedings against his mother are now in the hands of Chatham County District Attorney's Office. The police department referred questions to District Attorney Shalina Cook Jones. This article originally appeared on Treasure Coast newspapers. That is the sad information. It gives you just a backdrop of the case, the obituary, the dispute between Leilani Simon and her mother, earlier documentations of the Department of Human Services wanting monies for child support for Leilani Simon up until this present day. So as I said, I do not know when this woman had custody of this child, Billie Joe, Quentin, and Zane. But this article says at the time of disappearance. So who had custody of the children back in April? The state or Billie Joe Howell? We also get information that Billie Joe Howell's husband is the custodial party also in the paperwork alongside she. So he needs to be rung up as well for fraud and gross negligence of children. They're all guilty, in my opinion. They used Billie Joe Howell used Dinah McCarter as a gopher to keep these kids, not paying her a decent salary to keep the children, having to listen to her complain endlessly through text messages and calls about what Leilani Simon and Danny Youngkin were not doing. But once again, this was Dinah McCarter's decision to stay involved with these people. Her part has to be owned because she did not have to deal with these people. It was a choice. And once she saw the signs that Leilani was a deceiver, liar, whichsoever, she should have cut her ties to dealing with them. But she did not. And look where it got her, in a whirlwind of gossip and internet mess. And this is a tragedy all the way around because you don't know people. You don't know what they're about. And once you see the signs that you see a little bit of something about them that is negative or heinous, you need to cut them off. Because this is why many people are wrapped up in drama right now. Legal wranglings, God forbid, death, because they don't know when to fold. These are not the kind of people you want to be involved with because they are traumatic. They're scream queens. They've been problems. That's just the way it is. If Leilani lived halfway across the globe, she would have been in some mess. If Billie Joe was halfway across the globe, no Leilani Simon, she would be in some mess. That's what people don't seem to understand. These people are chaotic. It wouldn't have mattered if they ever dealt with each other, lived with each other. They would be in drama. That's the gist of the story. She spawned demon children. 2 are now immersed in madness, murder. One's already been convicted, a son, and now a daughter who will have to stand trial for the murder of her 20-month-old son. All these people are trouble. They're heinous. They're sociopaths. Possible psychopaths. I'm not a psychologist, but use your imagination. They can't be trusted. They're not your typical wayward people. You know, you have some people that like to keep up mess to some degree. This group is past that. And I always say that once you see that a person is a pathological liar, you don't have anything with them. There's no way you can take it with a pathological liar because you don't know who you're talking to. So Billie Joe strikes me as a liar. So does her daughter, Leilani Simon. And they're all guilty for the murder of this child. And if indeed we find out that she had custody of the children back in the spring, she is most definitely guilty because she had no intention of raising the children. So let's start with the obvious. When did Billie Joe get the job out of town? How long was the duration for the job? Why did she accrue custody of kids she knew she had no intention of raising? How did she figure this was going to end? Because to say, I had no idea she was going to kill the kid is ridiculous when you have somebody calling you every other day telling you that the kids are neglected. They're not eating. They're not fed. This and that. They don't got milk. Don't got diapers. Where the fuck did you think this was going to end up? And also, Leilani had to have known something would jump off with neglecting her children and not watching her children. If you're to believe Dinah McCarter's account with her daughter of the children being in swimming pools, which I find very strange because I can't see kids floating in the water without drowning. There's too much water in a pool. And then some of you want to say, well, the pool didn't have a lot of water in it. It doesn't take but a few feet of water to drown in. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. When you are a little bitty person, you don't need a lot of water to drown in. They didn't have any business in a pool, period. Water, no water. 2 feet of water. They're unattended. Point blank. Outside, point blank. Inside of a house, unattended. It's all the same. The children were not watched. So rather one child she did not like or not, or favorite or not, it doesn't matter. You're neglecting your children. So even if she had feelings for Zane and Sky, they could easily have ended up like Quentin Simon. That's the point. Children running amok and get hit by a tree, fall down, fall onto a branch. The wrong type of person could come in their peripheral and snatch them up. It doesn't matter. Stick their hand in an electrical socket, turn on a stove. It's all the same. So it doesn't matter who she favored and didn't favor. And the fact that you would kill a child because you didn't favor him still doesn't give you the right to kill the child. And you're still unfit to keep the other children. So I don't care about who she liked and didn't like. She still will be unfit to raise kids. All of this is BS with the system, this Billie Joe bullshit and this custody stuff. I don't know what's the truth to the custodial rights when she actually got them, but nonetheless, Billie Joe is complicit because she knows her child, and that's the point. Whether CPS was ever involved with these people, Billie Joe knew her daughter, and Leilani knew herself. So that's the end of the conversation. That's the end of the discussion. All these people had the will to change, and they decided not to. And that is what people need to understand about dealing with people. There comes a point when you know the people are not right. So when you continue to deal with them, that is a choice. Because all these people played a choice in dealing with one another. Whether you're using drugs, getting high, drinking, you're aiding somebody that drinks and gets high that keeps children, that is a choice. You want to continue to keep children, knowing that the mother is unfit, you can't reach the grandmother, you got to continuously message her, that is all a choice. Whether you are a babysitter, Leilani, Billie Joe, Mr. Howe, whomever, they all played a role in dealing with one another. Nobody put a gun to nobody's head and told neither person to deal with the other. Billie Joe taking in Leilani was a choice. Leilani continuously staying in the house and not getting along with her mother, that was a choice. And Diana McCarter dealing with these people was a choice. Everybody had a choice. And some of you don't want to accept that. That is the reason why we continuously have abuse, because nobody wants to own their part in riding the ride. You can't ride the ride and then complain later about somebody used me, somebody disrespected me, somebody baited me. We all have to own our part in dealing with people and see the signs they are not right. They are not trying to change. Then why deal with them? Because in the end, it doesn't matter who dealt with Leilani Simon. This was going to happen regardless, because she is ill. She is empty. Everybody played a role. And this is the reason why we have the problems we have right now, is because people don't want to own their part in dealing with people. And there comes a point when you have to own your part. So they all need to own their part in dealing with one another. They're all guilty in dealing with each other. Frankly, I'm not dealing with nobody that's lying to me and wayward. What is the point? It gets old. You have to say, you know what? This ain't going nowhere. Doesn't matter that you like them. You have feelings for them. You have to preserve yourself, because self is first. Because you see, when you're dealing with people who are pathological liars, they don't care anything about you. They see, well, I got me a gullible one. They'll hang around. And the next thing you know, you're caught up in some fucking drama because you wouldn't cut them off. There are people actually dead because of the company they kept. So today is, oh, I didn't get hurt by them. Well, the next person may not be so lucky. As for Quentin Simon, prime example. He got the brunt of the abuse. He's dead. These other people could just say, well, yeah, I got used, abused, but you're alive. The baby ain't. This is a lesson learned. You see signs of abuse, say something. You see something's not right with the people in the company you're keeping, whether you're a friend, school teacher, babysitter, whoever, call immediately and bow your ass out. Because this could have turned easily on a babysitter, friend, whoever. Because this girl is known to lie. She could have easily said you were beating the baby. See, you all aren't paying attention. You know how many people have been accused of abusing children and they did not? Because they saw the signs that the children are being abused, and yet they kept going around the kids. So if you're keeping a child and they're being beat, it doesn't occur to you that somebody could accuse you of beating a baby? Come on now. I would never continue to deal with these people. You can agree to disagree. But some of you don't think. Diana McCarter could have just as easily been accused of abusing a child, because you're keeping the child for ended long-winded hours. So anybody could get the child and beat their baby when they get them home and then say, oh, I got the baby beat up like this. Use your head. It was a recipe for disaster dealing with these people. That's why it's best sometimes not to keep other people's children. Because if you don't know the people and what they are about, you could get yourself in a whirlwind of trouble by being a babysitter. And many people have. That's why she should have bowed out. Because who wants to be defending keeping somebody's child versus beating them up, beating up their kid? This is serious because this baby is dead. And this girl does not have a problem with throwing people under the bus. So if she could throw Bubba Moss under the bus, now in the indictment it says Danny Youngkin, you think she wouldn't have blamed Dinah McCarter or anybody else? This is serious. This is why I said what I said about McCarter. Should have bowed out. Because I'm very shocked that she didn't throw her under the bus a long time ago. Prayers for the truth. Justice for Quentin Simon. I brought you commentary of a neighbor speaking of investigators being on the property, trying to assess the situation. They obviously have evidence against this Leilani Simon and the abuse of her child, harming her child, disposing of her child. I always knew that they had something. We will find out later during trial. We will see who she will decide to blame then, Leilani Simon, when she goes to trial, because we already know she's going to try to find somebody to blame. And that will possibly be Danny Youngkin. Billie Joel is to get out the 22nd, which is next week. We will see how quick she runs back to YouTube and play funny games with her girlfriend in Canada and whoever else will stupidly listen to the gossip. And I will tell you point blank during this live stream, I am not interested in hearing anything Billie Joel has to say once she is released from jail via YouTube. You can gladly share that information with somebody else. I'm not interested. I no longer want to hear any more gossip and he said, she said pertaining to Billie Joe Howell and Leilani Simon, Mr. Howell, Paul, Pookie Ray, the horse in Canada. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to hear it. I've disengaged. It's over with for me. Leilani Simon, malice murder of a child. Mother, Billie Joe Howell in jail for contempt of court. We will hear more. Hopefully, they'll give us more information. She's to be released next week on the 22nd. Leilani's to go to court in 2023. It is what it is. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Call the police, bypass DHS. Know that one phone call can save a life. And everybody in that house needs to be closely interrogated, and also know that this is still an ongoing investigation pertaining to the death of Quentin, the murder of Quentin. So that means anybody else can be arrested in this investigation because the district attorney kindly told you the case is not closed. So that should tell you something about what is going on down there in Savannah. They are possibly still looking at other participants, cohorts in the death of this baby, malicious murder. Billie Joe Howell and her husband need to face charges of gross negligence, child neglect of the said children. besides whatever juvenile court has against her, she needs to be locked up. Whether she had custody in April or custody in October, she committed fraud. That's the bottom line. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. God bless all of you. Like, share, subscribe. I will be back today with more commentary pertaining to breaking news, the Idaho 4, and crimes here in East Tennessee. Thank you so much for your time. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji, 129 Cash App. Stickers, chats, welcome during the streams. God bless all of you. Stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for your time.